Alright guys, so let's jump into Five Nights TD 2 units, yeah? The full tier list that I'm going to do in this video. And I'm going to go through everything, and you got to pay attention because this can really change how your waves go in the long run, right? Before we start, make sure you hit that like button for more cool Roblox content like scripts, tier list breakdowns and stuff, okay? Let's jump in. So first up, we've got Toy Freddy. He's a cone AoE, not too crazy expensive, and his Faz shotgun thing, it does more damage the further the enemy is from him. So you want to place him where he can hit as many units as possible at once. And you got to remember that the closer enemies do less damage to him, so don't panic if a few get near. I personally like using him mid-wave, where the small groups come through, you can actually poke the back line and the front line gets some indirect pressure. I'd say he's an A tier pick. So next we have Party Packer Cupcake. This one's nuts because of the ICBCM missile. It literally targets the highest HP enemy every 12 seconds. And if you activate Fallout, the missiles go off every 3.4 seconds for a while. You got to time it though, because the steam cone AoE afterwards is short but can apply burn, which is super useful for tough mobs. Placement wise, put it near the center of the path so it hits everything, but avoid clustering it with your other AoEs or it might overlap too much. She's S tier for sure. And now moving on to Mangle. Oh man, Mangle's crazy. So the amalgamation attack cycle, you got to pay attention because every third attack switches type. First is light cannon in a circle AoE, then flamethrower in a cone, then bite, single target. And the radio static passive, it stuns enemies after 6 seconds in range, which is huge if you can line it up with waves of strong mobs. My tip here is don't spread your units too far. Mangle works best when it sees a bunch of enemies for the stun. Mangle's definitely an S tier unit. Next up, Endo 01. So this one's a support/buff unit, right? It gives a 3% damage boost to units in range, stacking per upgrade up to 15%, and also gives RNG boost per unit around it. You really want to pair it with high DPS units like Shadow Freddy or Party Glock Freddy, because the stacking RNG and damage boost make them hit so much harder. And yeah, keep multiple endos together for the extra RNG boost. It really adds up in late waves. Endo 01 is an S tier support for sure. So next we have Balloon Boy. He's another support unit. Honestly, I think he's kind of underrated because Stolen Batteries gives a small RNG boost to nearby units and it stacks per upgrade. You can use him early to help units crit a bit more often, and maybe combo with Cupcake to get damage plus RNG on everything in range. Balloon Boy, I'd put him in A tier. Moving on to Shadow Freddy, he's single target, really strong, and the corrosion passive is nice because it reduces armor damage resistance by 5% each time he attacks, stacking to minus 70%. So your high damage units behind him basically wreck anything that's armored. And the energy siphon RNG boost, yeah, it's minor per upgrade, but if you get a few upgrades, it really helps with crits. I usually pair him with Balloon Boy or Endo for max effect. Shadow Freddy is definitely an S tier. And so next is Golden Freddy, hero unit. He's a circle AoE, and man, his active ability literally hits the whole map for 50% damage, so you gotta save it for the really tough waves. Then his upgrades give stuns and more damage, and Vengeful Spirit makes him crazy for short bursts. My tip, place him somewhere he sees most of the pass where his stuns and damage hits everything, but watch his cooldowns or you'll waste the burst. He's S tier, no doubt. Now coming to Toy Chica, she's line AoE, not super expensive, and the water hose attack slow enemies for a bit. High pressure knocks enemies back every 10th attack, which can help control crowds. I usually put her near tight corners or choke points so she slows and pushes them effectively. And yeah, the armor ignore is solid, so she's actually good for mid-game waves. I'd say she's an A tier. Next is Toy Bonnie, single target. His energy surplus every 4th attack does extra damage. I'd say he's situational, like early or mid game when you need cheap, reliable hits. Just don't rely on him too much late game, he falls off. I put him in B tier. Moving on, Fazcade. Okay, he's the farm/support unit. Arcade machine passive gives money
every wave, scaling with upgrades. Honestly, place him where he sees most of your high cost units so you can get those waves fast, and you'll have enough cash to upgrade Mangle or Party Packer early. Fazcade is definitely an S tier for support. Next one, JJ, line AoE. Megalomaniac gives tiny RNG boost per kill, stacking up to 10%. Use him in areas with clustered enemies. The RNG stacking can actually help for big crit chains, and his line AoE makes him decent if you have other units behind him for extra coverage. JJ, I'd say B tier. Now Bonnie, circle AoE. Guitar solo every 10 secs, gives herself a 10% damage boost for 5 secs. Honestly, I use her on early waves mostly. She's cheap, but that passive can punch above her weight for a short time. I'd put her in B tier. So next, Foxy, line AoE, right hook every 6th attack. His damage is meh, but for early waves, he's fine if you just need a cheap blocker. Don't expect him to carry late game. C tier for sure. Next is Withered Foxy, single target. Memento Mori is crazy, stacking damage and RNG if he doesn't attack up to 30%. Sword Lunge applies bleed, extra damage for a bit. I usually use him where he can stay alive for a few seconds without attacking to build stacks, then hit big. Placement is key. Don't throw him out there in the middle of everything or he dies too fast. I'd say A tier. Moving on to Cupcake, the support buff unit. Birthday Boy gives 3% damage, RNG and CD buffs, which is solid with your AoE units, especially Mangle or Shadow Freddy. Placed near high DPS units, you'll notice the difference over a few waves. I'd put her in A tier. And now Withered Bonnie, single target, charged laser hits nearby units every 5 seconds, critical overdrive every 4th attack, crits for double damage. Honestly, he's pretty solid if you can line him with Balloon Boy or Endo 01 buffs. I like him in the mid game where a few extra hits can change the wave outcome. I'd put him in A tier. Next is Withered Chica, single target, generator passive, gives bonus damage every 2nd attack. She's okay early, but late game she just doesn't really scale that well. Placement in corners can help, but she's C tier. Next is Party Glock Freddy, circle AoE, party every 60 seconds, boosts damage, lower CB, party poppers every 15 secs. You can put in mid path to cover multiple lanes. The party poppers are strong if enemies bunch up. Honestly, he's fun, and I usually put him with AoE friends to max damage. S tier definitely. And guys, that's it for my full unit tier list, yeah? Remember, placement and knowing when to activate abilities makes a huge difference, so don't just throw units down randomly. If you play smart and stack buffs, even lower cost units can hold their own for a bit. Hope this helps you crush those waves. Bye!